The wonderful series, once-in-a-lifetime experience, truly a glorious, glorious time.
It's undeniable that Mace H is an extremely popular American war comedy television series in the 70s and 80s, but why did its cast all leave? You know, actors always tend to want to stick with a movie project that has high revenue and is loved by many audiences. However, Mace H can be considered an exception that makes fans extremely confused. George Morgan, the man who initiated the escape from Mace H, successfully manipulated his co-stars, causing its production team to completely collapse. What happened to Mace H in the end? Why don't insiders want to maintain it? Let's find out now. It turns out this is the reason George Morgan left. George Morgan's brief tenure as Father Mulcahy in the pilot episode of MASH remains one of the most enigmatic and least known departures from the iconic television series. Before his role in MASH, George Morgan had already established a modest presence in television and film, appearing in notable works such as the Western series Bonanza and Robert Downey Sr.'s counterculture film Putney Swope. Despite his limited screen time in MASH, Morgan's portrayal of Father Mulcahy left a lasting mark, albeit in an unexpected way. In television's early days, it was not uncommon for actors who appeared in pilot episodes to be recast when a series was picked up for production. This practice allowed producers and casting directors to fine-tune character dynamics, chemistry among the cast, and sometimes even reimagine the roles themselves to better fit the ongoing narrative and viewer expectations. Such was the case with George Morgan's portrayal of Father Mulcahy in MASH. Father Mulcahy, the compassionate and often comically befuddled chaplain of the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, played a crucial role in grounding the series amidst the chaos of war. In the pilot episode, Morgan's interpretation of Father Mulcahy set the initial tone for the character. However, executive producer Larry Gelbart and the creative team behind MASH ultimately decided to take the character in a different direction. Despite only appearing in one episode, George Morgan's image as Father Mulcahy was retained in the opening credits of every subsequent episode of MASH. This curious decision has puzzled fans and historians alike, as it highlights Morgan's brief but notable association with the series. His presence in the opening credits serves as a visual reminder of the character's foundational role, even though the role itself was recast. The decision to recast Father Mulcahy came down to a desire for a different dynamic in the character. Larry Gelbart, in discussing the change, noted that while George Morgan was a competent actor, they sought someone with a quirkier personality, one that could bring a distinct charm and depth to the role without requiring extensive script adaptation. This decision was part of the ongoing evolution of MASH as it sought to refine its ensemble and deepen its storytelling. Following George Morgan's departure from MASH, the role of Father Mulcahy was recast with William Christopher, who would go on to become synonymous with the character throughout the series' long run. Christopher brought a blend of earnestness, humor, and moral authority to Father Mulcahy, endearing him to audiences and making the character an integral part of the show's ensemble. The recasting of Father Mulcahy illustrates the fluid nature of television production and the quest for the right balance of talent and character portrayal. It also highlights the challenges and opportunities faced by actors in pilot episodes, where their performances can shape but not always define the future of a series. For George Morgan, his time as Father Mulcahy in the pilot episode of MASH may have been brief, but it left an indelible mark on television history. His role as the initial incarnation of Father Mulcahy, despite being replaced, underscores the collaborative and dynamic nature of television production, where decisions made early on can shape the trajectory and success of a series for years to come. What about McLean Stevenson? McLean Stevenson's departure from MASH, especially through the dramatic and unexpected death of his character Colonel Henry Blake, marked a significant and groundbreaking moment in television history. Stevenson portrayed Blake, the affable and easygoing commanding officer of the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, MASH, during the show's formative years. His character's interactions with the likes of Alda's irreverent Hawkeye Pierce and Wayne Rogers' pragmatic trapper John McIntyre provided a balance of authority and camaraderie, crucial to the show's early success. Colonel Blake's relationship with Radar O'Reilly, played by Gary Berghoff, was particularly notable. Radar, the young and earnest company clerk, formed a deep bond with Blake, often anticipating his needs almost instinctively. This relationship not only highlighted Radar's devotion to his commanding officer, but also underscored Blake's paternalistic role within the unit. Despite the camaraderie on set, Stevenson began to feel constrained by the ensemble nature of MASH as the show gained popularity. His decision to leave was driven by a desire for greater creative opportunities, leading to his departure in the Season 3 finale titled Abyssinia, Henry. In this emotionally charged episode, Blake receives an honorable discharge and bids farewell to the 4077th. However, the most memorable and shocking moment occurs when Radar delivers the devastating news that Blake's plane was shot down over the Sea of Japan, with no survivors. The impact of Colonel Blake's death on both the characters within the show and its audience cannot be overstated. At the time, killing off a major character in such a sudden and tragic manner was unprecedented in television. Audiences had grown attached to Blake and were unprepared for such a grim turn of events. The decision to write out Blake in this manner was a bold artistic choice, reflecting the unpredictability and harsh realities of war that MASH aimed to portray amidst its comedic elements. Abyssinia, Henry not only shocked viewers but also sparked controversy. Many fans were deeply upset by Blake's sudden demise, leading to a flood of angry letters to CBS. Some viewers felt blindsided and betrayed by the unexpected loss of a beloved character. The controversy was further compounded when CBS decided to edit out the final scene of the episode in later reruns, a decision that underscored the episode's impact and the visceral reaction it evoked. For McLean Stevenson, leaving MASH meant departing from a role that had defined a significant part of his career. Despite his frustrations with being part of an ensemble cast, Stevenson's portrayal of Colonel Blake had endeared him to audiences and established him as a key figure in the show's early success. His departure not only left a void in the cast, but also signaled a shift in the dynamic of MASH, paving the way for new characters and storylines to unfold. In hindsight, Abyssinia, Henry stands as a landmark episode in television history, demonstrating MASH's willingness to challenge conventional storytelling norms and tackle serious themes with emotional depth. The episode's impact resonated far beyond its initial airing, influencing how subsequent television series approached character departures and narrative twists. It solidified MASH's reputation as a groundbreaking series that blended humor with poignant reflections on war, humanity, and the bonds forged in adversity. Following McLean Stevenson's exit, MASH continued to evolve, introducing new characters like Colonel Sherman T. Potter, played by Harry Morgan, to fill the void left by Colonel Blake. While Stevenson's departure marked the end of an era for the show, it also underscored its ability to adapt and resonate with audiences through its exploration of complex characters and enduring themes. Next is Wayne Rogers. The early seasons of MASH, both in its original film and television series adaptations, set the stage for what would become a cultural phenomenon. Following the success of the movie, the television series embarked on its own unique journey, with the first 3 seasons characterized by a dynamic interplay between the characters of Hawkeye Pierce and trapper John McIntyre, portrayed by Alda and Wayne Rogers, respectively. Wayne Rogers, a seasoned actor known for his roles in television and film, including guest appearances on various popular series of the time, brought a distinct charm and wit to the role of Trapper John. Rogers initially auditioned for and accepted the role of Trapper John over Hawkeye, citing the character's less cynical and more affable personality as more appealing to him. This decision proved fortuitous, as Rogers' portrayal of Trapper John quickly resonated with audiences, contributing significantly to the series' early success. In the ensemble cast of MASH, which included characters like Radar O'Reilly, Colonel Blake, and Father Mulcahy, Hawkeye and Trapper emerged as central figures, often leading the charge in the comedic and dramatic antics that defined life at the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. The rapport between Hawkeye, the irreverent and quick-witted surgeon, and Trapper, the laid-back and compassionate counterpart, provided a rich foundation for the show's blend of humor, social commentary, and poignant moments amidst the backdrop of the Korean War. Despite their equal billing at the outset, the dynamics within MASH began to shift as Alda's portrayal of Hawkeye Pierce gained traction with both audiences and critics. Alda's ability to infuse Hawkeye with depth, vulnerability, and a sharper edge of humor gradually drew the focus towards his character. As the series progressed, the writers and producers increasingly centered storylines around Hawkeye's relationships, ethical dilemmas, and personal struggles, reflecting Alda's evolving influence and popularity. The evolution in focus from a dual lead dynamic to Hawkeye Pierce as the primary protagonist marked a significant shift in the narrative structure of MASH. While Trapper John continued to play a pivotal role in the ensemble, his character became more supportive of Hawkeye's arcs, rather than sharing equal narrative weight. This transition underscored the organic development of characters within a long-running series, where audience reception and creative exploration often guide storytelling decisions. Wayne Rogers' tenure as Trapper John McIntyre showcased his versatility as an actor, blending humor with moments of poignancy as the character navigated the challenges of wartime medicine and personal relationships. Trapper's camaraderie with Hawkeye, along with his interactions with other members of the 4077th, contributed to the series' enduring appeal during its formative years. However, behind the scenes, tensions arose between Rogers and the show's producers over the direction of his character and his contract. Rogers, feeling that Trapper John's role was diminishing compared to Hawkeye's, sought greater creative input and financial compensation. These disagreements culminated in Rogers' decision to leave MASH at the end of the third season, marking another significant departure that would shape the future trajectory of the series. The exit of Wayne Rogers as Trapper John McIntyre represented a pivotal moment for MASH. His departure prompted the introduction of a new character, Captain B.J. Honeycutt, portrayed by Mike Farrell, who would forge a memorable partnership with Alda's Hawkeye in the subsequent seasons. The transition from Trapper John to B.J. Honeycutt underscored the show's ability to adapt and evolve while maintaining its core themes of humanity, humor, and the harsh realities of war. Despite his departure from MASH, Wayne Rogers' contribution to the series remains integral to its early success and enduring legacy. His portrayal of Trapper John McIntyre alongside Alda's Hawkeye Pierce set the stage for one of television's most beloved and acclaimed ensemble casts. Rogers' decision to pursue other opportunities after MASH reflected his commitment to diverse roles and creative pursuits beyond the confines of a single iconic character. Larry Linville also chose to leave. Larry Linville's portrayal of Major Frank Burns on MASH stands as a testament to his talent for bringing complex characters to life in the realm of television comedy and drama. Inheriting the role from Robert Duvall, who originally played Frank Burns in the 1970 film adaptation of MASH, Linville faced the challenge of making the character his own within the context of the small-screen adaptation. Major Frank Burns, as portrayed by Linville, emerged as a memorably despised figure within the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. Unlike the film version, where Burns was portrayed with a more subdued demeanor, Linville's Frank Burns was characterized by his judgmental, self-absorbed, and selfish tendencies. As a stickler for military protocol and regulations, Burns clashed frequently with the more irreverent and anti-authoritarian characters such as Hawkeye Pierce, Alan Alda, and Trapper John McIntyre, Wayne Rogers. One of the defining aspects of Major Burns's character was his intense disdain for Hawkeye and Trapper. Burns, as a devout adherent to military discipline and decorum, found the duo's penchant for rule-bending and irreverent behavior deeply offensive. His interactions with them often sparked comedic conflicts and provided fertile ground for the series' blend of satire and social commentary on the absurdities of war. Despite his generally disliked nature among the 4077th personnel, Major Burns did find one ally in the form of Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, portrayed by Loretta Swit. Their relationship, marked by its secrecy and mutual attraction, added a layer of complexity to both characters. Margaret, while outwardly maintaining a facade of strict professionalism and adherence to military decorum, harbored deep affections for Frank that often conflicted with her professional duties and personal moral compass. The affair between Frank Burns and Margaret Houlihan was a recurring subplot throughout the early seasons of MASH. Their clandestine relationship not only provided moments of drama and tension, but also served as a source of humor and irony within the confines of a war zone. The juxtaposition of their private dalliances with the chaos and tragedy of the Korean War highlighted the series' ability to balance dark themes with lighter comedic moments. Larry Linville's portrayal of Major Frank Burns was marked by his ability to imbue the character with layers of vulnerability beneath his outwardly abrasive demeanor. While Burns often served as a foil to the more sympathetic and morally grounded characters like Hawkeye and Trapper, Linville infused the role with nuances that hinted at Frank's insecurities and deep-seated fears of inadequacy. Behind the scenes, Larry Linville's commitment to his role as Major Burns was evident in his dedication to portraying the character authentically, while also navigating the challenges of maintaining audience engagement with such an antagonistic figure. His chemistry with Loretta Swit as Margaret Houlihan helped to humanize both characters, even as their actions often elicited disdain or frustration from their fellow characters in the series. As MASH progressed through its early seasons, Major Frank Burns became a fixture in the 4077th, evolving alongside the show's broader narrative arcs and character developments. His conflicts with Hawkeye, Trapper, and other members of the surgical unit underscored the tensions inherent in wartime camaraderie and the often conflicting dynamics of personal ambition versus collective survival. Larry Linville's tenure as Major Frank Burns on MASH spanned from the show's debut in 1972 until his departure in 1977 at the end of the 5th season. His decision to leave the series was driven by a desire to pursue other acting opportunities and avoid being typecast as the despised antagonist. Despite his departure, Linville's portrayal of Major Burns left an indelible mark on television history, solidifying his place among the memorable characters of one of the most acclaimed and enduring series of all time. The production team had a really hard time with Gary Berghoff's escape. Gary Berghoff's portrayal of Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly in MASH stands as one of the most iconic and beloved characters in television history. As the only actor to reprise his role from the original MASH movie into the television series, Berghoff brought a unique blend of innocence, charm, and comedic timing to the character that endeared him to audiences worldwide. In the transition from the big screen to television, Radar O'Reilly underwent a notable transformation. In the film, he was portrayed as a competent and resourceful assistant to the medical team, known for his ability to anticipate the needs of the camp and his close rapport with the officers. However, in the television series, Radar evolved into a more naive and childlike character, emphasizing his youthfulness and innocence amidst the chaos of war. This portrayal struck a chord with viewers, who embraced Radar as a symbol of purity and earnestness in the midst of the Korean War's absurdity and tragedy. Berghoff's portrayal of Radar O'Reilly was characterized by his trademark quirks, including his habit of speaking to his teddy bear, his uncanny ability to predict incoming helicopters, choppers, and his endearing interactions with the camp's medical staff, particularly Hawkeye Pierce, Alan Alda, and B.J. Honeycutt, Mike Farrell. Radar's role as the camp's company clerk not only highlighted his organizational skills, but also provided comedic fodder as he navigated the bureaucratic challenges of military life with a mixture of earnestness and exasperation. As MASH progressed through its early seasons, Radar O'Reilly's character development paralleled the show's exploration of its larger themes. His innocence and vulnerability became poignant contrasts to the harsh realities of war, serving as a reminder of the human cost of conflict and the resilience required to endure it. Berghoff's ability to balance Radar's childlike innocence with moments of depth and emotional complexity endeared him even further to audiences, solidifying his status as a fan favorite. Behind the scenes, Gary Berghoff's commitment to his role as Radar O'Reilly was evident in his dedication to portraying the character authentically while navigating the demands of a rigorous television production schedule. However, as the series entered its later seasons, Berghoff began to experience fatigue from the demanding workload and the pressures of maintaining the character's integrity amidst evolving storylines. By the time MASH reached its 8th season, Gary Berghoff made the decision to depart from the series, marking a significant moment in the show's history. His departure was influenced by a desire to explore other creative opportunities and to alleviate the physical and mental strain of his role as Radar O'Reilly. While previous cast members who left the series, such as McLean Stevenson, Colonel Henry Blake, and Larry Linville, Major Frank Burns, struggled to find success post-MASH, Berghoff was determined to pursue new endeavors outside of the shadow of his iconic character. Berghoff's exit from MASH was handled with sensitivity and respect for his contributions to the series. In the episode titled Goodbye Radar, which aired in the 8th season, Radar O'Reilly's departure from the 4077th was portrayed as a bittersweet farewell marked by heartfelt goodbyes from his fellow characters. The emotional impact of Radar's departure resonated with audiences, reflecting the genuine affection and admiration for Berghoff's portrayal of the character over the years. After Gary Berghoff's departure from MASH, his career took a turn that largely distanced him from acting, focusing instead on other pursuits and only sporadically returning to television. Berghoff's decision to step away from the role of Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly was influenced by a desire to explore new creative avenues and to avoid being typecast by his iconic television character. Following his exit from MASH in its 8th season, Gary Berghoff ventured into limited acting roles, making sporadic appearances on television. One notable return to the MASH universe was in the spin-off series After MASH, which followed the lives of Colonel Potter, Harry Morgan, Klinger, Jamie Farr, and Father Mulcahy, William Christopher, after their return to civilian life. Berghoff reprised his role as Radar O'Reilly for 2 guest appearances in After MASH, marking a brief return to the character that had defined much of his early career. The premise of After MASH aimed to capture the post-war struggles and personal challenges faced by the characters as they adjusted to civilian life. Despite initial interest from viewers, evidenced by decent ratings in its early episodes, After MASH faced significant criticism from both audiences and critics alike. The series failed to capture the same magic and appeal that made MASH a cultural phenomenon, struggling with inconsistent storytelling and a perceived lack of the original series' wit and depth. One of the more intriguing developments following Berghoff's departure from MASH was the potential spin-off series centered around Radar O'Reilly titled Walter. In this proposed series, Radar would have transitioned from his role as a corporal in the Army to becoming a police officer, navigating the challenges of law enforcement in a small Midwestern town. Despite CBS filming a pilot episode for Walter and initial plans to launch it as a standalone series, the project ultimately failed to resonate with test audiences and network executives. As a result, CBS decided not to move forward with Walter, marking a disappointing end to the attempt to expand the MASH universe beyond its original framework. In contrast to the struggles of After MASH, another spin-off series, Trapper John, M.D., found greater longevity and success on television. Starring Pernell Roberts as the titular character, Trapper John, M.D. followed the post-war career of Trapper John McIntyre, originally portrayed by Elliot Gould in the MASH film. Despite its connection to the MASH universe through the character's name and background, the creators of Trapper John, M.D. emphasized that the series drew inspiration primarily from the original novel and was not intended as a direct continuation of the television show. Trapper John, M.D. distinguished itself as a medical drama focused on the professional and personal challenges faced by its lead character, exploring themes of medicine, ethics, and human relationships within a hospital setting. The series enjoyed a successful run on television, lasting 7 seasons and earning a dedicated fan base, albeit distinct from the fervent following of its predecessor MASH. Maybe you don't know this, but just 2 days after Berghoff left, the producers returned with a substantial offer in hand, demonstrating the seriousness of their intent to retain him. According to reports, Warner Brothers promised Berghoff a $4 million contract to return to the show. This was a significant amount of money, especially in 1979, and it underscored the producer's recognition of Radar's importance to the series. To put the offer in perspective, $4 million in 1979 was an extraordinary sum for a television actor. Although Berghoff would not have reached the earnings of Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye Pierce and was the highest-paid TV actor, the contract would have placed Berghoff among the top 3 highest-paid performers on in 1980. In that year, Alan Alda made $5.6 million per season on MASH, a figure that included his earnings as a writer. Carol O'Connor, starring in Archie Bunker's Place, earned $4.8 million, making him the second highest-paid TV actor. If Berghoff had accepted the offer, his $4 million would have positioned him just behind O'Connor, but ahead of other prominent actors like Michael Landon of Little House on the Prairie, $3.8 million, and Larry Hagman of Dallas, $2.4 million. Despite the lucrative offer, Berghoff was not swayed by the prospect of a higher salary. His decision was driven by a desire for a more balanced and fulfilling life. He wanted to focus on the good things that made life meaningful: close friends, a religious faith, and a return to his roots. This personal quest for peace and happiness was more important to him than financial gain or professional accolades. The producers and Berghoff's colleagues were disappointed by his decision, as they had hoped he might reconsider. His departure marked a significant loss for the show, as Radar's character had been a source of warmth and humor, providing a counterbalance to the often grim realities depicted in the series. Radar's innocence and naivety had endeared him to viewers, making his exit a poignant moment in the show's history. Alan Alda is no exception. Despite being an ensemble series, MASH had an unofficial lead character, Captain Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce. Portrayed by Alan Alda, Hawkeye was the heart and soul of the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, often serving as the central figure in the show's storytelling. His charismatic presence, sharp wit, and deep humanity made him a beloved character among fans and a crucial element in the show's success. Even when the spotlight shifted to other characters, Hawkeye's influence was always felt, either as a source of comedic relief or as a key player in the unfolding narrative. Given Hawkeye's central role, naturally a strong interest in exploring more of his life and character beyond the confines of the Korean War setting. Fans were eager to see how Hawkeye would fare outside the 4077th and how his experiences in the war would change post-war life. However, after more than a decade of both starring in and being a major creative force behind MASH, Alda felt it was time to step back from the role that had defined his career. Alda's involvement with MASH was extensive. Not only did he portray Hawkeye, but he also contributed significantly to the show's writing and his creative input helped shape the series' unique blend of humor and drama, making it one of the most beloved television shows of all time. However, the demands of wearing multiple hats took a toll on Alda, him to seek a break from the relentless pace of the show. The show's producers were faced with the challenge of addressing Alda's desire to step back while maintaining the continuity and quality of MASH. Fortunately, the series and premise provided a convenient in-universe explanation for Hawkeye's absence. It was set during the Korean War, and it was understood that the characters were there temporarily, bound to return to their civilian lives once their service was over. In the narrative, Hawkeye could be written out by having his tour of duty come to an end. This explanation not only aligned with the historical context of the show, but also provided a natural and reason for his departure. It allowed the character to leave the series without any dramatic or contrived plot twists, maintaining the integrity of the storyline and giving Alda the break he desired. The departure of Hawkeye from the 4077th marked a significant transition for the show. It allowed other characters to step into the spotlight and explore their own stories more deeply. While Hawkeye's absence was felt, the ensemble of MASH was strong enough to carry the series forward. Characters like B.J. Honeycutt, Charles Winchester, and others had already developed a strong rapport with the audience, ensuring that the show remained engaging and compelling. Moreover, Hawkeye's departure opened up new storytelling opportunities. The series could delve into how the remaining characters coped with the absence of their friend and leader. It could explore the emotional and psychological impact of the war on those who stayed behind, providing a richer and more nuanced portrayal of the war's effects on its participants. For Alda, stepping back from MASH allowed him to pursue other creative endeavors and recharge after more than a decade of intense work. He went on to have a successful career in both film and television, continuing to be a respected and influential figure in the entertainment industry. His time on MASH remained a defining period of his career, and his portrayal of Hawkeye Pierce continued to be celebrated as one of the most iconic performances in television history. Of course, Mike Farrell also left. Mike Farrell's character, B.J. Honeycutt, was a late addition to the cast of MASH, but he quickly endeared himself to both the 4077 personnel and the show's viewers. Debuting at the start of Season 4, B.J. was brought in to replace trapper John McIntyre, played by Wayne Rogers, who had been a significant character during the first 3 seasons. Stepping into the shoes of such a beloved character was no small feat, but Farrell's portrayal of B.J. Honeycutt made the transition seamless. B.J.'s introduction to the 4077th was handled with care, ensuring that his arrival was memorable and impactful. The writers crafted an eventful and engaging debut for him, helping to establish his character and endear him to the audience quickly. B.J.'s first appearance was marked by a sense of excitement and anticipation, with the character's journey to Korea setting the stage for his integration into the unit. Unlike his predecessor, Trapper John, who shared a mischievous and rebellious streak with Hawkeye, B.J. Honeycutt was more straight-laced and level-headed. This contrast in personality brought a new dynamic to the show, allowing for fresh interactions and relationships to develop. While B.J. was still Hawkeye's partner in crime, he approached situations with a calmer and more rational demeanor. This balance between the two characters added depth to their friendship and enriched the show's narrative. One of the defining characteristics of B.J. Honeycutt was his unwavering devotion to his family. Throughout his time on MASH, B.J.'s love for his wife Peg and their daughter Erin was a central theme. This aspect of his character provided a grounding force for him and offered viewers a glimpse into the personal sacrifices made by those serving in the military. B.J.'s frequent letters to his family and his longing to return home resonated with the audience, highlighting the emotional toll of war and separation. BJ's family-oriented nature also distinguished him from Trapper and other characters on the show. While he shared in the camaraderie and hijinks of the 4077th, his commitment to his family often influenced his decisions and actions. This sense of responsibility and loyalty made BJ a relatable and sympathetic character, further endearing him to viewers. Farrell's portrayal of B.J. Honeycutt brought a warmth and sincerity to the character that complemented the show's blend of humor and drama. His interactions with the other members of the 4077th, particularly Hawkeye, were characterized by mutual respect and genuine friendship. B.J. and Hawkeye's partnership became one of the show's most enduring and beloved elements, with their differing personalities creating a dynamic and engaging duo. For 8 years, B.J. Honeycutt was a vital part of the MASH ensemble, contributing to some of the series' most memorable moments. His character's growth and development over the seasons added depth to the show's portrayal of the human experience in wartime. B.J.'s struggles with the moral and ethical dilemmas of war, his attempts to maintain his integrity, and his enduring hope for a better future resonated with the audience, making him an integral part of the MASH legacy. In addition to his strong character arc, BJ also brought a unique sense of humor to the show. His witty banter and dry sense of humor provided a perfect counterbalance to Hawkeye's more flamboyant antics. This dynamic allowed for a rich tapestry of comedic and dramatic moments, ensuring that MASH remained a compelling and engaging series throughout its run. Mike Farrell's contribution to MASH extended beyond his performance as B.J. Honeycutt. He was also deeply involved in the show's production, writing, and directing several episodes. His behind-the-scenes work helped shape the show's direction and maintain its high standards of quality. Farrell's commitment to the series and his dedication to his character played a significant role in the enduring success of MASH. So did Loretta Swit. Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, portrayed by Loretta Swit, arguably had the most extensive and profound personal arc in MASH. Initially depicted as a strict and often antagonistic head nurse, Margaret's character evolved significantly over the course of the series. Her affair with the equally unlikable Major Frank Burns, Larry Linville, played a pivotal role in shaping her early interactions with the rest of the 4077th. During this period, she was more hostile towards her colleagues, particularly Hawkeye Pierce, Alan Alda, and Trapper John McIntyre, Wayne Rogers, often siding with Burns in their various schemes and conflicts. Margaret's affair with Frank Burns was characterized by secrecy and volatility, reflecting the broader complexities of her character. She was often seen as uptight and unapproachable, reinforcing her Hot Lips nickname, which originated from her passionate, if contentious, relationship with Burns. However, as the series progressed, Margaret began to undergo a significant transformation, both personally and professionally. The turning point for Margaret's character came as she started to discover her true self during the Korean War. Her experiences in the war zone, coupled with her growing disillusionment with Burns, prompted a shift in her demeanor. Margaret began to mellow, showing more compassion and understanding toward her fellow medical personnel. This transformation was gradual but noticeable, marking a departure from her earlier antagonistic persona. One of the most symbolic aspects of Margaret's evolution was her shedding of the Hot Lips nickname. This moniker, initially a derogatory reference to her romantic exploits, became less relevant as Margaret asserted her professional identity and personal integrity. She grew increasingly assertive, not in a domineering way, but as a respected leader and a dedicated nurse. Her newfound confidence and sense of purpose allowed her to build more positive relationships with her colleagues, earning their respect and admiration. Margaret's character arc also highlighted her dedication to her work. Unlike many of her comrades who longed to return to their pre-war lives, Margaret found a deep sense of fulfillment in her role as a nurse. Her commitment to her profession was unwavering, and she chose to continue her work by joining an army hospital after the war. This decision underscored her passion for nursing and her desire to make a meaningful impact, regardless of the challenges. This unwavering dedication to her work was one of the reasons Margaret was notably absent from After MASH, the spin-off series that followed the lives of several MASH characters after the war. After MASH featured Colonel Potter, Harry Morgan, Klinger, Jamie Farr, and Father Mulcahy, William Christopher, as they transitioned to civilian life and worked at a stateside veterans hospital. However, Margaret's continued commitment to her profession made it difficult to incorporate her into the narrative of After MASH. Her character had moved on to a different phase of her career, one that was incompatible with the premise of the spin-off. Margaret's evolution on MASH was marked by several key moments that highlighted her growth. Her eventual break from Frank Burns, her development of a strong friendship with Major Charles Winchester, David Ogden Stiers, and her increasing respect for Hawkeye and B.J. Honeycutt, Mike Farrell, were all significant milestones. These relationships allowed Margaret to showcase her softer side, her sense of humor, and her deep sense of loyalty. Moreover, Margaret's personal life also saw changes. Her engagement and subsequent marriage to Lieutenant Colonel Donald Penobscot was a major storyline, though it ultimately ended in disappointment and divorce. This subplot further humanizes Margaret, showing her vulnerability and resilience. Despite the personal setbacks, she emerged stronger and more self-assured, ready to face new challenges with determination and grace. Finally, there was the departure of David Ogden Stiers. David Ogden Stiers joined the cast of MASH as Charles Emerson Winchester III, marking the final addition to the series' main ensemble. Introduced as the replacement for Major Frank Burns, Winchester brought a distinctly different personality and dynamic to the 4077th. Unlike his predecessor, Charles was not characterized by buffoonish incompetence or comic villainy. Instead, he was a highly skilled, cultured, and somewhat arrogant surgeon from a wealthy Boston family. Charles's introduction to the 4077th was marked by a significant cultural clash. Accustomed to the luxuries and refined lifestyle of his affluent background, he found the rudimentary conditions and chaotic environment of the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital in Uijeongbu, South Korea, to be almost unbearable. His initial days at the 4077th were filled with disdain for his new surroundings and a palpable sense of superiority over his colleagues. This attitude often put him at odds with the other members of the unit, particularly with the more laid-back and irreverent characters like Hawkeye Pierce and B.J. Honeycutt. Despite his haughty demeanor, Charles was undeniably a brilliant surgeon. His medical skills were on par with, if not superior to, those of his peers, and this competence eventually earned him a grudging respect from the rest of the team. However, it was not just his surgical prowess that defined his character. Charles was also known for his love of classical music, fine wines, and gourmet food, all of which he missed dearly in the austere setting of the 4077th. His attempts to bring a touch of Bostonian sophistication to the camp often provided comic relief, as well as moments of genuine pathos. One of the key aspects of Charles's character development was his gradual adaptation to the harsh realities of war and the camaraderie of his fellow soldiers. While he never entirely shed his air of superiority, he began to show a deeper, more empathetic side. He formed unlikely friendships and demonstrated acts of kindness that belied his initial aloofness. His interactions with patients and local Korean civilians revealed a compassionate heart beneath his gruff exterior. This complexity made Charles one of the most intriguing and multi-dimensional characters on the show. Charles's evolution was also highlighted by his relationship with the other main characters. His rivalry with Hawkeye and BJ was often the source of both comedic and dramatic tension, but over time, mutual respect developed. Episodes that focused on Charles's background and personal life, such as those involving his family or his experiences before the war, provided a deeper understanding of his character and motivations. After MASH ended, fans were left wondering about the fate of their beloved characters. While the spin-off series After MASH provided updates on several key figures from the original show, Charles Emerson Winchester III was notably absent. However, the sequel series did offer a glimpse into his post-war life. According to the narrative, Charles returned to Boston, where he resumed his medical career and married his high school sweetheart. This conclusion was fitting for a character who had always longed for the comforts and familiarity of his old life, even as he grew to respect and care for his comrades in Korea. Charles's return to Boston and his subsequent marriage suggest a return to the world he cherished, yet his experiences at the 77th undoubtedly left an indelible mark on him. The war forced him to confront his own prejudices and vulnerabilities, and the friendships he formed during that time likely influenced his outlook on life and medicine. His journey from a disdainful outsider to a respected member of the unit mirrored the show's broader themes of growth, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. David Ogden Stiers' portrayal of Charles Emerson Winchester III was a masterful blend of arrogance, humor, and depth. His performance brought a fresh dynamic to the series and contributed significantly to its continued success in its later seasons. Charles's character arc, marked by both comedic moments and poignant introspection, remains one of the most memorable aspects of MASH. What do you think about the departure of the actors in MASH? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.